Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this review, I'm going to discuss it. Previously, I have discussed the first film in Lord of the Rings trilogy, which was Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, which came out in 2001. Now I'm going to do the sequel, or at least the first sequel, which is Lord of the Rings The Two Towers, which came out in 2002. But this movie picks right up where the previous film had left off, when the Fellowship of the Ring kind of like broke up, and Frodo and Sam went further on to continue their journey to Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring. The problem with this film is, of course, they have way too many subplots in this film. That's why I wasn't a huge fan of these films, because they had too many jumping from one storyline to another, and it is 3 hours, another 3 hour film. So for 3 hours, you're jumping from one storyline to the other, and it was crazy. And that's why this movie didn't win the Oscar for Best Picture, because a lot of people felt that The Two Towers should have won the Oscar for Best Picture and not Chicago, because the movie Chicago, or the musical Chicago, won the Oscar for Best Picture, and not The Two Towers. A lot of people were miffed over that because they felt this one was the best one, because they were waiting for the next Oscar awards to properly award Peter Jackson with all the awards for the Lord of the Rings series, which was The Return of the King. And I'm going to get into that when I review that movie. But right now I'm going to stick with The Two Towers. And not only did they have the bit with Frodo and Sam, and they also had Gollum. And the Gollum character had a much bigger role in this one, as well as, of course, also the third film. And, of course, the guy who should have won the Oscar, if there was anybody nominated for an Oscar, I think Viggo Mortensen was nominated, I think, once or twice for Lord of the Rings. I think he was definitely nominated for this one. But the one that should have got nominated and should have got an Oscar win was the guy who was the voice of Gollum. He did such a great, unbelievable job in this film. He should have been the one who should have gotten an Oscar for his role as Gollum, because that creepy voice, my precious, does that bit. And he joins Frodo and Sam did not trust Gollum, and Frodo, Sam didn't trust Gollum at all, because he felt he was going to stab him in the back, because he had the ring for so long, over 700 years, or whatever length of time it was, and Frodo says, "Hey, let's take him around and use him as a guide to get into Mount Doom and everything, where we have to go, to Mordor." And Sam reluctantly agrees, even though Sam constantly abuses Gollum through the whole film, the whole second film. And you had that storyline. And then you had the third storyline with Viggo Mortensen's character, Orlando Bloom, and the guy who played the dwarf. They go and try to stop Sauron's or the wizard, the White Wizard, who's played by Christopher Lee, trying to stop his army from invading and destroying the world of man, because he was attacking men. The menfolk in Middle Earth, he was attacking them. So, of course, Viggo Mortensen and Orlando Bloom and the guy who played the dwarf, I'm not sure of the actor's name. So the three of them, a man, the elfin, and the dwarf, trying to stop the White Wizard's army from attacking, the place was the Two Towers. And of course, he had Gandalf, who was played by Ian McKellen. He somehow magically comes back from the dead, because you saw at the end of the first movie, he falls off a cliff, he gets attacked by this monster he was trying to defeat, which he does. But in the last second, one of the tentacles of this monster grabs Gandalf and they pull him down, and he somehow comes back from the dead. Only in a fantasy film, like or in a soap opera, where something like this happens, and he forms, and what Gandalf does, forms his own army and helps and backs up the army that was defending the two towers from his other wizard's army. I know it sounds complicated the way I'm explaining it, but that's what the plot was. So you have all these different plots going on in this one movie, and I'm like, really? And as of course that's why I felt that this movie didn't. I don't think any of these movies. I know I get some facts for this, but I don't think that any of these movies deserve the Oscar for Best Picture, because for technical achievement, it does deserve the accolades. As a movie, I like when movies have plots, especially if it's an action movie. Even if it's a fantasy trilogy, which this was. I like my fantasy movies that have a plot to it. That's why I like the Narnia series better, because those movies have a plot to it, and the action sequences make sense in the grand scheme of things. In relation to the plot, this Lord of the Rings movies, you have action, more action, and very little plot development or character development, except for trying to destroy the One Ring, or trying to defend the two towers, or not trusting Gollum that much. That's pretty much what the plot is of the movie, and I can see why they didn't win the Oscar for Best Picture, Two Towers, because these films these stories were considered unfilmable. And so when Peter Jackson did them, they figured, it's such a wonderful technical achievement. That's why they won all the technical awards the 3 years of these movies came out, because it's all it was good for was the technical stuff, and not so much of the plot. I'm sure the books were probably better. I remember the animated movies. I think that wasn't so bad. I remember seeing one of them. I don't remember seeing the whole thing, but I remember seeing one of them. And that wasn't too bad. But when they made it into a full-length film, three full-length films, that's at least 3 hours long, you're like, oh, yes. You almost like roll your eyes at some of this stuff. But the Lord of the Rings of the Two Towers is the big action scene, the battle scene in the end for the Two Towers. I thought that was one of the best battle scenes they had. Definitely one of the best filmed battle scenes. And of course, the problem is that the majority of it is CGI. At least you see when all the action, the army from Christopher Lee's character, and then you have tens of thousands of people. Of course, 50, 60 years ago, during the 40s, 50s, and even in the 60s, those would be all extras. They would be all actual human beings. And the problem with CGI is you don't hire human beings anymore. You don't need to hire human beings anymore. Spend money on paying all these extras to be in this movie to do these battle scenes. You just make digital characters, and you can save them. Well, actually, you have to spend money on making these digital characters, but you save money for not hiring actual physical human beings to play these people. And you have all that CGI, and that's what bothers me. All that CGI stuff for the battle scenes. It's all CGI for the battle scenes, and it doesn't make it. It's more realistic here than the Star Wars prequels with the CGI, because that's all fake. But in Lord of the Rings, it looks like a little more realistic, so that's why they beat out, at least for this movie, The Two Towers, and beat out the original Spider-Man film, and the Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones for the CGI, because this one, the CGI looks better than in Star Wars. Not Spider-Man, but Star Wars. Because I like Spider-Man better. But in the film, I think it's just too much CGI stuff. And at one point with Viggo Mortensen's character, he does fall, and everybody thinks he was dead. And when he comes back, he's another character that comes back from the dead. I mean, it's like, isn't there anybody who doesn't come from who stays dead in these movies? I mean, once you're dead, you stay dead. I mean, come on, this is like a stupid soap opera bullshit thing. That these characters don't stay dead. I mean, you fall off a cliff like about like 1,000 feet in the air, you land in the water, and you still survive. I mean, come on. That's just fake, lazy stuff. But you know, that's why I don't not a fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm not really a big fan of it. But you know, I want to do these reviews of these movies, and it's part of part of my videos. I mean, gotta do these films, but Lord of the Rings is not that great. It's not that that's why only one of the 3 films only won for the Oscar for Best Picture. You can't have all 3 of them win for Best Picture. Anyway, that's why they're making a new category for the Oscars. And maybe sometime down the line I might do a video on that. But as of right now, I'm just doing straight reviews right now. But for the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, it's like I said earlier, it's considered the best one out of the 3. Because they don't like probably because they want these movies to continue. Of course, the third one is the end of the line, and then Peter Jackson made the Hobbit series, which, as I heard, was not that good. But I haven't seen those movies. Because that's not interesting. But that's why I watched Lord of the Rings. It was just the same type of stuff as there was in these movies. So that's why they didn't receive that good reviews from most people. But for Lord of the Rings, except for the big battle scene at the end of the movie, this movie doesn't really do that much for me. They did all of them, really. They didn't do so much for me. So that's my review of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it, please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video to your Facebook pages. You can check out all my reviews on my YouTube channel, WallyC.com, that's all WDY, C.com, that's a homepage to the reviewer. Please need more, and please check out all of his videos on this website as well. Thanks for watching, catch you next time.